I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel.
Echoes of the Unknown. The radio telescope at the Kalahari Observatory trembled almost imperceptibly. Dr. Ezra Novak noticed the slight vibration on his monitoring screen, a tiny anomaly that would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. His fingers, calloused from years of scientific exploration, traced the unusual signal pattern. "Kai, come look at this," he called to his research partner, Dr. Kai Rodriguez. Kai's dark eyes narrowed as she leaned over the display. The signal was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a complex, rhythmic pulse that seemed to dance between coherence and chaos. It didn't match any known celestial communication pattern, terrestrial technology, or natural cosmic phenomenon. "This is impossible," Kai muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard, running multiple analysis protocols simultaneously. The signal originated from a point deep in the Andromeda galaxy, yet it carried a strange resonance that seemed to reverberate within the very molecular structure of their equipment. Most scientists would have dismissed it as equipment interference or a random cosmic glitch. But Ezra and Kai were not most scientists. Outside the observatory's reinforced windows, the South African landscape stretched endlessly, a testament to the vastness that mirrored the cosmic mysteries they pursued. The night was unusually still, as if the entire planet was holding its breath. "We need to verify," Ezra said, his voice steady but tinged with excitement. "No one can know about this until we're certain." Kai nodded, understanding the weight of their potential discovery. Scientific history was littered with premature announcements that had destroyed careers. They would be meticulous, methodical. For the next 72 hours, they worked without sleep. Specialized algorithms parsed the signal, quantum computers crunched impossible calculations, and specialized equipment ran continuous verification protocols. The signal remained consistent, a perfect mathematical sequence that seemed to defy the randomness of cosmic background radiation. On the third day, something changed. The signal began to interact with their monitoring systems in ways that defied conventional physics. Computational systems typically designed to process information started to adapt. Algorithms began to modify themselves, creating more efficient pathways of analysis that no human programmer could have designed. "It's like the signal is teaching our computers how to think," Kai whispered, a mixture of terror and exhilaration in her voice. Ezra noticed the first physiological changes during a routine blood test. His white blood cell count showed unprecedented activity, not as an immune response, but as a systematic reorganization. Cellular structures appeared to be subtly realigning, creating more efficient pathways of energy transfer and information processing. When he showed Kai, she ran her own tests. The results were identical. "We're changing," she said, her scientific detachment momentarily cracking. "But changing into what?" The signal continued its relentless transmission, a cosmic whisper that seemed to be awakening something profound within human biology. It was more than a message, it was a key, unlocking potential that humanity had never known existed. Little did they know, similar anomalies were being detected in research stations around the world. From the high-altitude observatories of Chile to the quantum research facilities in Japan, something was stirring, a global metamorphosis encoded in a language older than humanity itself. The awakening had begun. The first signals. Dar. Elena Volkov at the Siberian Research Institute first noticed the unusual neurological patterns in her long-term cognitive enhancement study. Brain scans of participants showed unprecedented synaptic connections forming, connections that shouldn't be possible according to current neurological understanding. In a small laboratory in New Zealand, Dr. Marcus Tanner observed similar mutations in plant cellular structures, rapid adaptations that suggested an external informational input was reorganizing genetic expressions. The scientific community remained unaware. These were isolated incidents, fragments of a larger puzzle that had not yet revealed its full design. But the signal continued, patient and persistent, like a cosmic heartbeat slowly awakening a sleeping giant. Humanity was about to discover that it knew nothing about its true potential. Global tremors. The first global tremor occurred precisely 72 hours after Drive Ezra Novak and Dr. Kai Rodriguez recorded the mysterious cosmic signal. It wasn't a geological event, at least, not in any conventional sense. In Tokyo, a quantum physics researcher named Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka watched in disbelief as his most complex computational models began to solve themselves. Algorithms that would have taken years to process were now completing in milliseconds, with an intuitive logic that seemed to defy mathematical constraints. Simultaneously, in a small research facility outside Buenos Aires, Dr. Valentina Ortiz noticed something strange happening during her neuroplasticity experiments. The human brain samples under her microscope were changing, synaptic connections were forming at an impossible rate, creating neural pathways that looked more like intricate circuit boards than biological networks. The convergence was beginning. The first ripples. World governments initially tried to suppress the information. The United Nations Emergency Scientific Council convened in absolute secrecy, bringing together the most brilliant minds from every continent. They knew that what they were witnessing could either be humanity's greatest breakthrough or its most catastrophic threat. Dr. Elena Volkov, who had first observed the neurological anomalies in Siberia, presented her findings. Her presentation was a masterpiece of controlled panic. "We're not looking at a virus," she explained, her voice steady despite the revolutionary nature of her discovery. "We're witnessing a fundamental reorganization of human biological potential. The cosmic signal is acting like a key, unlocking dormant genetic and neurological capabilities." The room fell silent. Ambassador Robert Kamani from the African Union was the first to break the silence. "Are you suggesting that this signal is rewriting human biology?" Elena's response was measured. "Not rewriting. Awakening. Unexpected adaptations." The changes manifested differently across the globe. In New Delhi, a group of software engineers discovered they could now conceptualize complex algorithms almost instantaneously. In Copenhagen, medical researchers found that human tissue samples were demonstrating unprecedented regenerative capabilities. Dr. Marcus Tanner from New Zealand documented plant mutations that suggested a broader ecological transformation. Crop species were developing more efficient photosynthetic processes, showing remarkable resistance to environmental stress. But not everyone saw these changes as a blessing. Fractured responses. Some saw the cosmic signal as a threat. Military strategists in several countries began preparing containment protocols. Others, like the technology conglomerate Global Tech, saw an unprecedented opportunity for advancement. Dr. Kai Rodriguez, now working with an international research consortium, struggled to maintain scientific objectivity. The signal had become more than a research subject, it was a global phenomenon that was reshaping the very understanding of human potential. "We're standing at the threshold of something unprecedented," she told a closed-door session of scientific leaders. "This isn't just a biological event. It's a species-level transformation." The extraterrestrial question. As global communications networks began to detect similar anomalies worldwide, a more profound question emerged. Was this a natural phenomenon? Or was something, or someone, intentionally triggering this global transformation? Deep within the secure research facilities of the European Space Agency, a team of astronomers began mapping the signal's origin point. The data suggested something impossible. The transmission wasn't just coming from Andromeda. It seemed to be emerging from multiple points simultaneously, defying current understanding of space-time communication. The gathering storm. By the end of the week, the world teetered on the edge of a fundamental transformation. Governments scrambled to understand, corporations sought to control, and ordinary people began to feel the first subtle shifts in their perception and capabilities. Something was awakening. And humanity was about to discover that its true potential was far beyond anything it had ever imagined. The convergence was just beginning. Unexpected evolution. The human body became a laboratory of impossible changes. Dr. Gabrielle Winters first noticed the full extent of the transformation during a routine medical examination. Her patient, Michael Rodriguez, a 35-year-old former construction worker, displayed capabilities that defied medical understanding. A simple blood test revealed cellular structures that seemed to be in constant, purposeful motion. Microscopic observations showed Michael's cells communicating with an efficiency that resembled advanced computer networks more than biological systems. His muscular structure had developed microscopic adaptive mechanisms, tiny, almost mechanical adjustments that allowed for unprecedented strength and recovery. "This isn't just adaptation," Gabrielle muttered, reviewing the test results for the 100th time. "This is intentional redesign." The physiological frontier. Across the globe, similar cases emerged. A marathon runner in Kenya discovered she could regulate her body temperature with unprecedented precision. A factory worker in Detroit found his healing capabilities had accelerated to the point where a deep wound closed within hours, leaving no scar. The changes were not uniform. Some individuals experienced dramatic transformations, while others showed only subtle shifts. But the pattern was consistent: humanity was becoming something more. Psychological frontiers. The mental changes proved even more profound. Dr. Omar Hassan, a neuroscientist in Cairo, documented cases of dramatically enhanced cognitive abilities. Individuals reported experiencing what could only be described as expanded consciousness. They could process complex information with incredible speed, understand multiple perspectives simultaneously, and demonstrate a level of empathy that bordered on intuitive communication. "It's as if the barriers between individual minds are becoming more permeable," Omar noted in his confidential report to the International Research Consortium. The social unraveling. Not everyone welcomed these changes. Governments became increasingly nervous. Military strategists saw both potential and threat in these human transformations. Some nations began implementing strict monitoring protocols, attempting to control and understand the emerging abilities. Religious leaders struggled to interpret the phenomenon. Was this a divine intervention? A scientific miracle? A cosmic reset? Social media exploded with countless stories. Videos of impossible feats: a construction worker lifting impossible weights, a child solving complex mathematical equations in seconds, a musician creating compositions that seemed to tap into emotional landscapes previously unexplored. The resistance. Not all transformations were welcomed. Dr. Valentina Ortiz discovered a significant minority experiencing what she termed rejection responses. These individuals fought against the changes, their bodies and minds creating internal resistance mechanisms. Some developed severe psychological trauma, unable to cope with the rapid personal evolution. "We're witnessing the first stage of a species-level adaptation," Valentina explained during a closed-door international conference. But adaptation is never uniform. Some will embrace. Some will resist. The deeper mystery. Dr. Ezra Novak and Dr. Kai Rodriguez, who had first detected the cosmic signal, now found themselves at the center of a global investigation. Their initial discovery had transformed into something far beyond a simple scientific breakthrough. The signal isn't just informational, Kai theorized during one of their marathon research sessions. It's catalytic. It's not just sending information. It's actively participating in our transformation. Ezra nodded, his eyes reflecting both excitement and a deep, primal fear. "We're not just observing a change. We're experiencing a reinvention of what it means to be human." The emerging pattern. By the end of the month, a clear pattern emerged. The transformation was selective yet universal. It targeted potential. It amplified capabilities. It seemed to be guiding humanity toward something, a collective evolution that no one could yet fully comprehend. The cosmic signal continued its steady pulse, a background rhythm to humanity's most profound metamorphosis. Something was coming. And humanity was changing to meet it. The unexpected arrival. The first extraterrestrial contact came not with a thunderous arrival or a massive invasion, but with a quiet transmission that slipped through Earth's communication networks like a whisper. Dr. Rohan Krishnamurti was working the night shift at the International Space Communication Center in Bangalore when the signal first appeared. Unlike previous cosmic transmissions, this was different, precise, coded, and unmistakably intelligent. "It's not just a message," he muttered to his colleague, Dr. Elena Rodriguez. "It's a conversation starter." The message was simple yet profound. A series of mathematical sequences that seemed to be testing humanity's comprehension, probing the edges of our collective intelligence. Within hours, research centers around the world began decoding the transmission, each team discovering something both terrifying and extraordinary. The global response. World leaders convened an emergency session of the United Nations. The transformed humans, those who had developed enhanced cognitive and physical abilities, were suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Ambassador Wei Zhang from China spoke first. "Our transformed citizens are no longer just a scientific curiosity. They may be our most critical asset in this potential first contact scenario." The room fell silent. The global transformation that had seemed so mysterious now appeared to be preparation for something larger. The chosen ones. Dr. Kai Rodriguez, now leading the International First Contact Research Team, identified a group of individuals who seemed most attuned to the extraterrestrial signal. They weren't just the most physically or mentally enhanced, they possessed something more subtle. A kind of intuitive understanding that transcended traditional human communication. Michael Rodriguez, no relation to Kai, stood out among them. A former construction worker who had undergone one of the most dramatic transformations, he could now process complex information with unprecedented speed. More importantly, he seemed to understand the alien transmission in a way no computer could. "It's not about decoding," Michael explained during a closed-door briefing. "It's about resonating. The message isn't just information. It's an invitation." The unexpected intermediary. The first physical manifestation of the extraterrestrial presence was nothing like anyone expected. It wasn't a spacecraft. It wasn't a physical being as humans understood physicality. It was a field of energy that materialized in the middle of the Atacama Desert in Chile. Sensors went crazy. Satellites captured images that defied conventional physics, a shimmering, almost liquid-like construct that seemed to breathe with its own intelligence. Dr. Elena Volkov, who had been tracking the global transformation, arrived with a team of researchers. As they approached, something extraordinary happened. Michael Rodriguez, who had been brought along as part of the research team, began to change. Not physically, but in a way that suggested complete communication with the energy field. "We've been waiting," Michael said, his voice carrying a resonance that wasn't entirely his own. The transformation was the first step. The revelation. The energy field began to communicate. Not through sound. Not through traditional language. But through a direct transfer of conceptual information that the transformed humans could comprehend. The message was both simple and incomprehensible. Humanity was part of a larger cosmic process. The signal, the transformation, the emerging contact, it was all part of a grand evolutionary design. "You are not alone," the concept translated in Michael's mind. "You are not at the end of your journey. You are at the beginning." The global tension. Governments around the world reacted with a mixture of fear, excitement, and profound uncertainty. Military forces were put on high alert. Scientific communities worked around the clock. The transformed humans found themselves caught between two worlds, the humanity they came from and something entirely new. Dr. Kai Rodriguez understood the magnitude of the moment. This isn't an invasion, she told her team. This is an invitation. To what, we don't yet know. As night fell over the Atacama Desert, the energy field remained. Watching. Waiting. Communicating in a language that only the transformed could begin to understand. Humanity stood at the precipice of its greatest adventure. And nothing would ever be the same again. The Cosmic Pathway. 2 months after the first contact, humanity found itself in a state of profound transformation. The energy field that had appeared in the Atacama Desert had not disappeared, it had dispersed, becoming a subtle but persistent presence that seemed to permeate the global consciousness. Dr. Rohan Krishnamurti had been tracking the phenomenon from the International Space Communication Center. His latest data suggested something extraordinary: the cosmic signal was evolving, becoming more complex with each passing day. It's not just communication, he explained to a select group of international researchers. It's a systematic upgrade of human potential. The deeper understanding. The transformed humans began to exhibit capabilities that defied previous understanding of human limitations. Michael Rodriguez, who had become a key interface between humanity and the cosmic intelligence, described it as a gradual awakening. Imagine your entire species has been living in a single room, he told a closed session of the UN Scientific Council. And suddenly, doors are opening. Walls are becoming transparent. You're realizing the room was never the entire world. Researchers documented unprecedented changes. Cognitive abilities that allowed instantaneous processing of complex information. Physiological adaptations that seemed to defy known laws of biology. A collective consciousness that began to emerge, subtle but undeniable. The global shift. The transformation was not uniform. Some humans remained largely unchanged, while others experienced dramatic shifts. But a pattern was emerging: those who were most open, most curious, most willing to embrace the unknown, seemed to transform most completely. Dr. Elena Volkov discovered something even more profound. The transformation wasn't just happening to individuals. It was happening to entire ecological systems. Plants were developing more efficient photosynthesis. Animal species were showing increased adaptive capabilities. The entire planetary ecosystem seemed to be evolving. The philosophical challenge. World religions struggled to interpret the phenomenon. Was this a divine intervention? A natural evolutionary process? Something entirely beyond human comprehension? Philosophers and scientists alike found themselves grappling with fundamental questions about consciousness, potential, and the nature of existence. Dr. Kai Rodriguez, who had been at the forefront of the research, proposed a radical theory. We're not just being transformed, she argued. We're being prepared. For what, we don't yet fully understand. The cosmic conversation. The energy field continued its subtle communication. Not through words, but through a complex language of conceptual transfer that the transformed humans could now partially comprehend. Fragments of understanding emerged. Humanity was part of a larger cosmic process. The transformation was a preparation for something greater. Earth was not an isolated incident, but part of a vast, interconnected universal mechanism. The individual and the collective. Michael Rodriguez experienced the most profound changes. He could now perceive complex informational networks that seemed to exist beyond traditional understanding of space and time. Communication was no longer about words or even thoughts, it was about pure conceptual transfer. We're learning to think differently, he explained. Not just as individuals. Not just as a species. But as a living, breathing part of something much larger. The emerging potential. Research centers around the world documented miraculous developments. Individuals who could heal at unprecedented rates. People who could interface with technology through pure thought. Collaborative problem-solving that transcended individual capabilities. The world was changing. Slowly. Inexorably. Irreversibly. The unfolding mystery. As the year drew to a close, humanity stood at the threshold of its greatest transformation. The cosmic signal continued its persistent communication. The energy field remained a subtle, ever-present reminder that something extraordinary was unfolding. "We are not at the end," Dr. Kai Rodriguez wrote in her final research report of the year. "We are at the beginning of something we can barely comprehend." The revelation was just starting to unfold. The final convergence. 1 year after the first cosmic signal, humanity stood transformed. The world was no longer divided by the old boundaries of nations, ideologies, or even species-level distinctions. Something profound had changed, not just in human biology, but in the very fabric of collective consciousness. Dr. Kai Rodriguez stood at the Global Research Facility in Geneva, watching as the final pieces of the cosmic puzzle began to align. The transformation was complete, yet it was only beginning. "We're not just evolving," she told the assembled researchers. "We're remembering." The cosmic memory. Michael Rodriguez, now more conduit than individual, had become the primary interface between humanity and the cosmic intelligence. His consciousness had expanded beyond traditional human understanding, becoming a living bridge between worlds. The revelations came in waves of understanding. Humanity was not an isolated species. It was part of a vast, living network of intelligence that spanned dimensions beyond conventional perception. The cosmic signal was not an invasion or a gift. It was a remembering. Fragments of ancient memories began to surface. Civilizations that had risen and fallen. Evolutionary paths that had been forgotten. Cosmic migrations that defied current understanding of time and space. The collective awakening. Around the globe, transformed humans began to experience a shared consciousness. Not a loss of individuality, but an expansion of it. They could now perceive the intricate connections that ran beneath the surface of reality, networks of energy, information, and potential that had always existed but were never before visible. Dr. Elena Volkov discovered that the transformation extended beyond human biology. Entire ecosystems were changing. Plant communication became more complex. Animal behaviors shifted. The planet itself seemed to be recalibrating. "We are not separate," Elena explained in her final research report. "We are a living, breathing part of a much larger system." The cosmic purpose. The energy field that had first appeared in the Atacama Desert now manifested globally, a subtle, intelligent presence that permeated every aspect of human experience. Its message became clear: humanity was not at an endpoint. It was at a beginning. The cosmic intelligence revealed glimpses of a larger purpose. Humanity was a seed of potential. Earth was one of many evolutionary nexus points. The transformation was preparation for a much larger cosmic journey. The transcendence. Traditional human limitations began to dissolve. Physical barriers became fluid. Thought became a form of direct communication. Individual consciousness merged with a broader, more complex intelligence. Michael Rodriguez experienced this most profoundly. His consciousness could now perceive multiple realities simultaneously, past, present, future becoming meaningless concepts. "We are not what we thought we were," he communicated to the global consciousness. "We are becoming what we were always meant to be." The final revelation. On the anniversary of the first cosmic signal, something extraordinary happened. The barrier between what humans had considered reality and the broader cosmic intelligence dissolved. Not with violence or drama, but with a profound sense of return. Of coming home. Dr. Rohan Krishnamurti watched as global communication networks transformed. Information became living, breathing entities. Knowledge was no longer stored, it was experienced. "This is not an ending," Rohan said, his voice carrying a resonance that was no longer entirely human. This is a beginning. The infinite potential. Humanity stood at the threshold of something unprecedented. No longer confined to a single planet. No longer limited by biological constraints. No longer separate. The cosmos had been waiting. And humanity had finally awakened. The journey was just beginning.